Hello, Gills fans, and welcome to this week's The View from the Medway Fancast. The Gills were knocked out of the FA Cup this week by Blackpool 2-0, who, of course, had former Gillingham legend Steve Bruce in the away dugout. It's left us winless in the last 7 games, and after winning Manager of the Month in September, Mark Bonner is now feeling the full pressure of some disgruntled fans. And here we have those disgruntled fans freshly drug out of his bed. We have my co-host from The View for the Medway, Chris. We have Mr. Happy himself, Stu Lewis. And, of course, Dave from the Shouting Men podcast. Guys, wow, what a weekend it's been. Chris, I've got to start with you. Did you actually expect us anything from the weekend?
No, it's quite interesting for me. I wasn't actually that bothered about the FA Cup. I didn't think that when we got drawn against Blackpool that we'd actually get anything. I don't think that's necessarily my bugbear, but I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later, mate. But yeah, I didn't really. The magic's gone for me from the FA Cup. After they've scrapped the replays and stuff like that, I just think the magic's gone slightly. So yeah, not that bothered, but I am bothered about other things. So we will get onto that a bit later.
Stu, obviously, how are you? And I've got to ask a quick question before we go. FA Cup replays, should they still be a thing or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we see some classic examples of the weekend whereby games with non-league teams have gone to extra time. The non-league teams have lost, whereby in the past they'd have got a replay out of it. More revenue. It's a disgrace. You know, these Premier League teams can fly off to Timbuktu, no problem with that. But, you know, they can't fit in a Tuesday night replay. Absolute nonsense. Greed again, you know, just taking over. And teams that are in the Premier League like Brentford, who, you know, were just also rans a few years ago, they should be ashamed of themselves, really, to be honest. Just to pick up on Chris's point about the game on Saturday, he wasn't bothered about it. The thing is, after the stinking run we've been on, you're at home. It was a good opportunity to pick a win up and, you know, put a few smiles on faces and build something rather than thinking, the FA Cup doesn't matter. You know, that's all the cup competitions we've gone out at the first opportunity. I mean, the first we got is the second round of the Kent Senior Cup, and the only reason that is because we got a bye in the first round.
Yeah, it's true. David, how are you? Can you hear us all right?
I think.
Oh, I don't.
David's having a problem with his. I don't know what it is. He said it before we come on that he was having a bit of a problem. So
this is the joys of going live. Always get some technical issues. Hopefully, we can get David sorted out before. Well, let's move on to some Blackpool fun facts, just for those of you out there who didn't know. Right, let's just get these up. So, Blackpool won the FA Cup in 1953 with a score of 4-3, the highest aggregate score in a post-war final. And also, Blackpool are the only team to have reached the Premier League in 2010, becoming the first club to be promoted from every division via the playoffs. Now, that's a really, really interesting stat. Nothing I didn't even realise until you brought it up, Chris. Reaching the Premier League by getting going via the playoffs in every single league, that is some feat.
Yeah, I found it really interesting, to be fair. I like these kind of things. I like, talking about different teams that I don't necessarily know about. I just think it's a really interesting stat, especially the second one. I didn't realise that they'd got promotion via the playoffs from every single league. So so it's brilliant.
And Stu, I'm sure you were there in 1953 watching that final. What kind of game was it?
Yeah, brilliant. That was flat cap on. Yeah, I was smoking a Woodbine. Yeah, excellent. No, great club, Blackpool. Good history. Up and down like a yo-yo over the years. Yeah, Always a good day out there. Yeah, no issue with them. That's a good club.
Yeah, they're absolutely, and obviously proof that if Blackpool can get to the mighty highs of the Premier League, why can't Gillingham? But well, maybe not this year. But let's move on to the game itself. So, of course, we have our lineup. So in goal, of course, was Glenn Morris. Back four of Shad Oji, Conor Marston, Max Amar, and Romeo Hutton. A midfield two of Armani Little and Ewan Williams. Then a three-player behind our solo striker of Jaden Clark, Timothy Dieng, Jack Nolan, obviously supporting up top Jacob Wakeling. And a very full bench we had there as well. Obviously, a bench including Joe Bode, Alex Giles, two goalkeepers in Jake Turner and obviously Ashby Lucas Hammond. We also had obviously Clark, Williams, Andrews, Wiley. Wiley, and was that Hawkins at the end, isn't it, as well? So I can't see it for me. I think I might need some glasses. Can I borrow yours, Stuart? So, guys, obviously, an extremely full bench. Looked like we were setting up in that 4-2-3-1 formation we've been doing quite a bit going forward. Any surprises there for you guys?
Well, I think the formation's a surprise because we kind of thought it was going to be like that. But when the game started, it wasn't anything like that at all. It was kind of a bit all over the place. Bit strange, that one. That was one of the strange things that Mark Bonner sort of came out. I mean, Jaden Clark was he's here, there, and everywhere. It sort of made me think like it was a Sunday game whereby I tell you what, lads, you play where you want. Go like that,
Yeah, I kind of get what you mean. Obviously, Chris, what with the lineup, for me, it kind of almost looked like it was going to sort of be more like a sort of a 3-5-1-1 almost formation. But they did kind of seem a bit all over the place, really, didn't they? But yeah, any surprises for you?
No, not really, mate. I'm not really that surprised with anything that we do at the moment, to be honest. I just think that it's a bit repetitive. It's a bit samey. It's a bit one-dimensional. I think playing Ewan Williams deeper than Timmy Dieng was probably a surprise for me because I think that Ewan Williams was brought in to be more of an attacking player, and he's not really played there so far. I don't think he's played there at all, other than pre-season. I probably would have. And you know what I'm going to say with this regard to, I think that Jack Nolan should have played on the left and Jaden Clark should have played on the right. I prefer the true winger when they're on their stronger foot. I don't necessarily agree with them coming onto their stronger foot because then it holds up play up front. But at the moment, and I will stress that when you've got 7 or 8 first team players out through injury, I don't necessarily think that we've got much choice than to do things. But I think I would have definitely have moved it around a little bit. I definitely would have probably put Dieng where Ewan Williams is. I probably would have moved Clark onto the other side and Nolan onto the left side. But yeah, there's not really much there that's going to stand out, that's going to really worry me or bother me in the respect of what I expected, to be honest.
Chris, just a point there. You said 8 players out injured, and it's obviously a problem for you. So which of those would you have dropped to bring in the injured players? Who's you removed from that 11?
So I probably would have moved Jack Nolan onto the left. I probably would have put Aaron Rowe on the right. I would have brought Robbie McKenzie back in to replace Ewan Williams. And then I would have probably dropped Dieng and put Dak there if he was 100% fit. If not, to be fair, I know everyone keeps going on about it, but I probably still would have pursued with Johnny Williams in that back.
So you've kind of dropped 3 then, not really any more than 3. So in real terms, because we keep hearing this, don't we, about the injury crisis?
I hadn't finished, but So I probably would have, if fit, then Josh Andrews up top as well. So,
all right, 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5, maybe.
Because, like I say, we keep going on about the injuries, but we can only put 11 players on the pitch. So, this injuries is a problem for me. I know we've got a big issue, but is that not an issue that affects 23 other clubs in the division?
There is also the argument to be had that, and I'm not defending anything that we do, but there is an argument to be had for me, Stu, where you don't win a league by having 8 players out and then going, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, we've got 8 players out, so maybe we have to make do with what we've got. You said this argument, and I think you had this argument last season, where you were banging on about the recruitment. The last 4 or 5 games, we have had the same players as what we had last season, yet you bang on the drum of it's now Bonnet's fault, whereas last season it was recruitment's fault. So I don't understand where the
difference. All right, I'll clear it up for you then if there's a misunderstanding. Now, what we've got to remember is in May, obviously Stephen was sacked and Mark Bonner was brought in, and he was the Mark Bonner. Remember, he was the dream ticket. Okay, when he was brought in, because obviously you if you change a manager, you're not going to do that to regress. It's a progression, isn't it? You're bringing in a better manager. You're going to move the team forward, and obviously that's what we were told. And I think a point that's often missed is that Mark Bonner had 3 months before a ball was kicked in anger to cross his T's, dot his I's, get his feet under the table, get his house in order. Bearing in mind when Stephen came in, he was straight into it. I think we had Hereford in the cup. I think we had Wrexham away. There was no honeymoon getting organised. It's bang straight on the training ground, off and running. So there's a massive factor there that he's had so much time to get things organised. But progression, I mean that's laughable. In all honesty, absolutely laughable.
Well, first off, I've got to say I'm loving my first time hosting. I've asked one question and I've already got a row going on, so this is great. But look, let's talk about the actual game itself, guys. Obviously, first half, look, we had a couple of good chances. I think there was the Nolan chance from outside the box. There was a chance, I think, where Tim Dieng managed to keep it in on the line. Somebody had a shot at goal. Goalkeeper spilled it. But yeah, I mean, do you think it's more a case of Gillingham being caught out here? Because you look what happened in that first half. We went that goal down, then all of a sudden that sort of bright spark play that we had seemed to disappear very quickly.
Yeah, interesting this with playing Blackpool, because I'm sure you remember, Matt, that after Neil Harris was sacked, everyone had their favourites, didn't they? Who they wanted to be the next manager. And I said at the time, 100% it had to be Brucey. And, I was mocked and, dinosaur, what's he ever done? This, that and the other. And for me at the time I said it, because obviously with Brucey at that time, he would have had Stephen Clements as his assistant. And to me, it made sense. Brucey does a couple of years. Clements, sticks with him, takes over, natural progression. Now, where we come unstuck, really, at the weekends is based on a simple system. Blackpool played 4-4-2. Nice, 2 banks of 4, 2 up front. Attackers a unit, defenders a unit. Nice and simple. Players can't get confused. And that is so effective in the way they played. And we just never had an answer for it. I mean, the 2 central defenders mopped up absolutely everything. They were very, very efficient. They came to do a job, professional job, and they did it. We didn't have any answers for them. We huffed and puffed, no answers.
I mean, Chris, could you say it was almost a case of the Blackpool players were sort of going out there and making sure they did a trick for their boss? Look, obviously, we all know what happened to Steve Bruce's obviously a grandson in the week, and obviously the funeral, which obviously, our thoughts and prayers go out to him. But do you think, obviously, did you think they've upped their game for him, or do you just think it was a case of they were just too good for us on the day?
Well, you kind of have to look at it with respect to when he first came in, they won their first 4 games. So he's clearly got a bounce out of the players. He's then gone away, and I think they've lost like 3 games and drawn 1 of them. I don't quote me on it, but Steve Bruce is a very good manager, right? He is a very, very good manager, and it's not just about the management style or the management that he has. He has that persona and that instant impact on players. So when he's not there, and it's been proven in the last few weeks, and I would just like to say to Steve and his family, like, condolences for Maddison's loss and everything like that. But when we're talking about football, it's just him. If it's Steve Bruce, that persona, that he just gets everyone going, and I think it proved on Saturday. And let's not beat about it. They're a league above us. They're 12th in League One. We're 11th or 12th in League Two. So they are a better team than us. There's no doubt about it. So yeah, I just think it gave them that big lift, and they were trying to perform as well for their manager that's just come back from the worst news possible. Right. So I don't think that we could have expected to win. I don't necessarily think that that's the issue that I have. I think it's the issue within the collective last 7 or 8 games. The performances have just been terrible from us.
Just want to bring up this comment from Warren that he's just pinged over. Evening, gents. A row breaks out on the show, and he's not even on this week. Well, we're saving that for next week. Hope.
Well, if you think that was a row, mate, then bloody hell.
There's a lot more to come. A lot more.
Yeah,
shows.
there's loads more. You want to do a few off-camera rows that we have? They're even better.
yeah, they're the best ones.
Well, obviously, let's talk about Blackpool's obviously first goal. There was a bit of an incident down in the bottom right-hand corner between Romeo Hutton and Jayden Clark. I think, for me, at one point, Romeo Hutton had the opportunity to just get the ball gone away from the area. He did pass it back to Jayden Clark, whose clearance, unfortunately, wasn't the best. Straight to a Blackpool player on the edge of the 18-yard box, who squares it to, as it's Sonny Carey, who drills a great shot in from the edge of the box off the post. Glenn Morris had no chance, going 1-0 down. Just to reiterate what you said there, Chris, and I'm going to sort of ask you this as well, Stu, but obviously I mentioned earlier, it kind of felt like everyone's heads kind of dropped. Do you think that's kind of now has become that recurring thing for the last few years with Gillingham, that is all we ever seem to do when we go a goal down? We almost sort of seem to stop playing football, and it takes us normally until the 70th minute to start back up again.
You taking that, Chris?
No, I thought it was for you.
Oh, okay.
That's the issue.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. We're very fragile, aren't we? We are so fragile mentally. Yeah, funny enough, before the Swindon game, I said to my brother, you go 1-0 up, might all go home because we're not coming back. Funny enough, it was the other way round, but we are very fragile when we let a goal in, and I think then you're going at half time and you're thinking, are we going to get back into this? And I didn't really believe that we would. I thought, we're attacking the rain, we'll give it a go. And to be fair, we did, but it was a lot of huff and puff. And they were so well drilled that as the game went on, you could see where it was going. We're pushing and pushing and pushing. Wasn't going to happen.
First off, David, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear and I can see. Yes.
Hey! Don't worry, David. You've missed the first round, but I'm sure there's plenty more to come.
I thought I was going mad.
Look, David, just talking about the first half here, really, of the game. What were your thoughts on it?
It's one of those old adages, wasn't it? It just felt like there was a little bit more huff and puff, but it was still the same old result at the end of the day. Speaking to my dad after the game, and he was kind of saying it's one of those things like, yeah, we've lost again, and it's a cup game. And at first of all, it doesn't feel like it matters. But once you get home and it soaks in, you realise that we've lost 7 of our last 8 games, and it is becoming a bit of a problem now. There's a few positives, but overall, we're out the cup again. And there's not really much to take bar the odd performance. And I'm sure you must have mentioned Ewan Williams' performance.
We were going to be talking about him in a minute, but yeah, please carry on.
I was going to say, where's he been? It's a Gills player that looked like he wanted the ball, looked comfortable on the ball, was happy to did go backwards at times, but first look seemed to be forwards. And bar him and the odd glimpse here and there from a couple of others, it was same old really.
Yeah, it was. Look, we're jumping to the second half, and look, there was a lot more effort, obviously, going towards the Rainham end, and there was a lot of, as David said, a lot of huff and a lot of puff. For me, 2 really concerning things in that second half, Chris. One was the 2 shots on target in the entirety of the game, but so obviously I know we've had 9 shots overall, but that I don't think we've had more than 4 in any of our last 8 on target. But also the lack of, I don't want to say tactical ability, but Mark Bonner made 3 subs out of a possible, I think, 5, obviously, or 6 that you get. But there seemed to be no cohesion to who was bringing on and what position they were going to be playing in.
But then didn't we bring on didn't we end up with 4 strikers on the field?
Mm.
There was Wiley Andrews.
What is that? What is that in itself? Honestly, for me, what is that in itself?
It's laughable, isn't it? I mean, I know we're a goal down, we're chasing a cup tie, but let's just chuck 4 forwards on and see how it goes. No plan B again. We keep going back to it. No plan B.
There's not, and do you know what? And I'm not poo-pooing Mark Bonner to an extent, but it does kind of reminisce with what Cambridge fans were saying at the start of the season. You're going to get a great manager that has a great plan A, but has absolutely no plan B. But then we don't even have a plan A at the moment. What is the plan A?
Well, look, I mean, I get that, but is that the case? Because you look at the start of the season, our plan A was obviously working. So, Stu, do you think it's that literally the rest of the teams out there, they've already figured out what our plan A is? They neutralise it.
Yeah. I mentioned this earlier on the last show I was on that we did get found out very early, and there was no flexibility. I said I think Mark Bonner's a little bit stubborn. He's kind of got his sort of ideas, and he's fixed on certain formation. I think he wants to stick to it, and it's costing him. It's costing him really. But what you got to remember about those first few games, the Carlisle win, it was a great start, and obviously we won at Morecambe, won at Notts County. But the only 2 games you can seriously say, look, they were easy wins, if you want to put it like that, were Tranmere and Barrow. They were games where you left the ground thinking it was a stroll in the park, really. But apart from that, the other wins have been a little bit on the glossy side. They've been Morecambe, like I said before, could have gone either way. Notts County, we had to really dig in. Chesterfield again, that one was touch and go for a time. They had a lot of chances. So we have been found out. We've just not adapted. That's the truth of it.
No, fair enough. I fully get what you mean. So that leads me on to you, David, to ask you: are we cursed?
I don't think we're cursed. No, I just a little bit following on from what Stu just said. It's like what would have happened if we had equalised on Saturday when you've got all of those forward players on. Like, what happens in extra time?
Mark Bonner did say that Josh Andrews probably would have had to come off had it gone to extra time in his presser, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, 4 forwards on. What you're playing, a 4-2-4 then?
Yeah, because he's done it in the last few league games as well, which you can kind of get away with at the end. It does become organised chaos at the end, but at least in a league game, it's 90 minutes and it's done. But in a cup game, it was just, it was just a mess at the end, and no one knows where they're meant to be, and it just becomes back to hoofball. But yeah, back to your question, being cursed. I don't think we are. I just think it seems to be a theme with no matter who the manager is, the confidence levels of players, or it could actually be think of it, the curse of actually joining us. You look at Jack Nolan. What's going on there?
Just talking about the curse there for a minute. The ground is cursed apparently from years ago. Yeah, the Gypsy curse. I think it's something like in the 50s or 60s. Apparently, there's someone like Brian Dix. He'll know. Ask him. Yeah.
Well, they keep saying that we're the Southern Pikeys wherever we go. So maybe that's right. I just want to pick up on, and I'm sorry, Matt. Sorry. I just want to pick up on the Jack Nolan thing. Are we signing players that are doing it season in, season out? Or are we just signing someone on a data thing? Oh, yeah, he was good last season, or he was good that season, right? Because with me and Elliot Nevitt, he was good last season. He scored 20 goals last season, fair enough. But the season before, he did nothing. So are we basing our analysis on a one good season, which for me isn't the right way to do it, because it needs to be a consistent thing. You can't just sit there and go, oh yeah, he's had one good season, and we're going to sign him, and expect him to then score 20 goals again.
I mean, look, I can answer that simply of saying that certain players fit well in certain teams in certain situations, and with the players around them. Look, Elliot Nevitt has come to a Gillingham squad where he's going to have to learn, exactly how Romeo Hutton likes to ping the ball in, what Jayden Clark, how he likes to run at players, and how he likes to do things. So, and obviously Nevitt, last year at Crewe, it just worked with him. Everything fit in perfectly. Here you go. A question for you, Stu. From Warren. At what point do you start blaming the players and not the manager? Because players are the ones on the park.
Well, at the moment, I'm blaming Warren. He probably all the trainers stopped because he's supposed to be at work. Poor old Doris is trying to get into Carriage D, but he's too busy on his iPhone. No, seriously. The players do have to take some responsibility. It's not all about Bonner, but at the end of the day, football's a cutthroat business. The manager has to take responsibility. He's on the training ground. He's giving out the instructions. He's picking the 11. He's picking the bench. He's doing the tactics. He may well have lost the dressing room. I gather some of the players got the ump when we beat Barrow, and he said it was not very good. I mean, you can understand the players being a bit upset about that. They've just won a game 2-0, cruised it, and then they're told, "Oh, you weren't very good." So, there's obviously things going on that, as fans, we don't know exactly what they are. I'm sure we'll touch on that a bit later. But no, the players, Warren has got a point. The players do have to take responsibility. But just coming back to this point that Chris was making about these data signings now. That is a worry, isn't it? If we're signing players based on their data, okay, like Chris said, one season someone's good, the season before they're no good. How much does data really tell you? They might be playing with other players around and they've built up relationships with. Those relationships are gone as soon as they change club. And also, data doesn't tell you whether, as a young player, he's homesick, he's missing his mum's roast beef dinner. His wife's run off with a milkman. The data doesn't tell you any of that, does it?
It doesn't. And I asked this. I'm going to ask you this, all you guys, this question, because I asked this to Stephen Clements when we had the fans forum. And for me, it actually comes down, if you want to sign for Gillingham, what is a Gillingham player to you? I can sum it up like
Mark Saunders. That's the only name I can think of. Yeah.
For me, I sum it up by saying Andy Hessenthaler.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that never say die attitude.
Yeah.
And I look at some of these players and I'm thinking most of them are just counting down to, when it's 5 o'clock, they can get in a shower, jump in their car, go home and play on their Xbox. That's how it kind of feels like it's coming across sometimes.
The problem you've got, Matt, I take on board what you're saying, and you said it yourself, Hesse, people, like I say, Mark Saunders, these are players made of steel. But the problem is the game's moved on. Now, if you look at the game at Swindon where their player got the early straight red for the tackle on Timmy, if you go back 15 years, that's a booking tops. It might even be a play. It might even be a play on. So the problem you have, people like Hesse, Mark Saunders, some of the players around, the millennium time, they wouldn't fit in the modern game, really.
But it's that difference of, when I say that never say die, it's that, it's who do you want in a trench with you? If you have to go to war, it's that somebody that's going to give you that confidence, give you that belief. And I look at the pitch and now all I see is literally sort of almost prima donnas almost. And for me, this is where I just want to see somebody look, we'll talk about him, Ewan Williams. For me, on Saturday, we went a goal down, but he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck, and he tried everything in his power to get us up the pitch, moving forward. But that was only the one player, and yet when you look back at the team that wore this kit in that final, every single one of them on that pitch wanted to do that, and that's for me where I'm seeing this lack of oomph and drive. I saw it a couple of times, but I'm not seeing it since. So look, David, what's the Gillingham player for you? Are you seeing any of these players in this squad acting like what you would imagine a Gillingham player should be?
One, I'd say Armani Little is the closest one. You can see he actually the only one that comes off that looks like he's sweat. And that might just be because he's got long hair, but he runs around. He looks like he likes a tackle. He wants the ball, and that's sometimes I think Gills fans. I don't think we mind players giving the ball away, but we don't want people then hiding and not wanting the ball. Like, still want the ball. If you give it away, you give it away, but want the ball. And Little, and to be fair, Williams to the degree, but I've only not seen, obviously none of us have seen much of him, but he was another one. He wanted the ball. And I think that's what we want. You just want people that are going to try, put an effort in and tackle. And you want if I'm a bit old school, you just want your defenders to head it and hoof it, midfielders to run, tackle, and your strikers to shoot. And that's where we're struggling. We've got strikers that don't shoot. We've got a right back that loves crossing the ball. It just crosses the ball. I don't know if he aims for anyone. It's just crossing the ball. There's no one really in there. If we had 11 Armani Littles, I think we'd be fine. But unfortunately, you can't have 11 of the same player.
I think David makes a valid point there. Now, if you think about a player like Barry Fuller, okay, now Barry Fuller wasn't the most talented footballer in the world, was he? But the Gillingham fans absolutely loved him because he was getting stuck in all the time. He might have been a bit slow. He might have picked up too many yellow cards, but he gave everything he could for the team. And we're not seeing any of that, are we?
Look, I've always said I'd rather go to a Gillingham game and see us lose, 4-3, 4-2, but really put up a great fight than see us go to a game winning 1-0, barely scraping through. I want to see my players fighting and getting stuck in, just like you guys have said. And for the last few years, I just don't feel like I've really seen that. I'll probably say since 2018 kind of time. It's been a good few years. But look, we're sort of move on from that little bit, and let's talk about Bonner himself, because Chris, I've got to ask you: do you think, obviously, the fact it has been 7 games without a win, do you think it could be down to that naivety of Bonner being never playing the game before, but only being his second job in as a manager? Or do you think it is just down to maybe he's not getting his message across to the players enough?
No, mate, I don't think it's And I know people have said, "Oh, it's Bonner," and Stu's like an advocate for that. I just feel like it's a little bit. You have to kind of like give him a little bit of credit in a respect of we have so many injuries. Yes, okay, Stu's alluded to the fact that maybe like only 3 or 4 would come into the squad, but it's not about the first 11. It's about the squad in its entirety, right? I don't think that we can judge him on a lot. We can judge him on some things, yes. We can't judge him on the whole bigger picture when he doesn't really have. I personally think his strongest 11 are not on the pitch. So how can we really judge him per se about that kind of thing? Okay, he needs to take a little bit of the blame. Okay, he's the manager. Okay, he needs to be the one doing on the training pitch. He needs to be doing that. But I definitely believe, and I still will stick by this, and I've banged this drum since last season. I will bang this drum this season, and I'll bang this drum next season if I have to. But it does come down to recruitment. Like, it comes down to the recruitment because 99.9% of the players that aren't playing now were signed in the summer, which then leaves 99.9% of the players that were playing last season on the pitch. But everyone decided that it was recruitment last season, but all of a sudden now it's Mark Bonner. Like, he didn't sign them players. Recruitment signed them players. So why is it now his fault?
First off, Stu, just to let you know, Doris is safely on her train, just in case you're wondering.
Glad to hear it.
But Stu, I'm going to have to ask you, let's put yourself in Brad and Shannon's shoes. You are the owner of this football club.
Right.
You've just seen your a guy who was voted manager of the month not two months back go on one of his worst runs.
Mm.
Do you blame him? Do you blame recruitment? Do you make changes? If so, what would you do?
Yeah, it's a big question. That. Thanks for that, Matt. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, I think we've all got to be honest and just let a few things sink in. Really, we scored 1 goal at home in a month. Okay, we picked up 1 point out of 18. Okay. Those are facts. It's as simple as that. Now, the reality is that obviously Brad and Shannon are on their 3rd manager. And I honestly believe if that wasn't the case, Bonner wouldn't be the manager now. Personally, from nothing against Mark Bonner, excuse me, I'm sure he's a lovely chap. I don't know him. But I think the job's too big for him. I think he had a lot of time when he came in. Like I said, he had 3 months to get everything in ship shape. Chris mentioned about the recruitment, but we are told the manager has the final say. So all these players that came in, and let's be fair, when we signed Amani Little, the other players that we signed in the summer, no one was complaining. Most people were saying, I'll tell you what, this window's not bad. We've got Daki in, we've got Nevitt, everyone was happy. So, but now all of a sudden we've got an element of fans who think, it can't be Bonner. It's got to be recruitment. It's Scally's fault. Everyone's looking for someone to blame or somebody to blame. There are issues beyond Mark Bonner, but I've got grave concerns. I really do think the job is too big for him. I think it's a big job, and he's not the man to do it. We were promised an improvement when he came in, and let's be honest, we've gone backwards.
No, I get what you mean. I kind of almost sense where you're going with that, but I don't think we're necessarily going backwards. I think we've just stagnated at the moment. But don't
you think that 1 point out of 18 is going backwards? Do you remember 1 point in 18 under Stephen Clements? Or
no, I mean, look, I was.
Do you remember one goal in a month?
I was an advocate for wanting to keep Stephen Clements in the first place. Look, I think Bonner's a good manager. I don't know. I think I kind of agree with what you said almost I don't know if this was necessarily the right job for him to have come into, but he's a nice guy. I've had a couple of chats with him. I've got no issue against him. But for me, I just feel that at the moment we've stagnated. Now, Dave, I've got to ask you if this run then was to continue. I mean, how long could you see it being, Bonner being in charge? And do you think Brad and Shannon would be willing to swing the axe, their third manager, in less than 3 years?
In answer to the last one, I think they would. They've showed with Stephen Clements that they're ruthless, and they technically said to him that he was going to be our manager this season and went back on that. So, yeah, I think if they're unhappy, I think Bonner would go. Do I think he should go? Not yet. Do I think Saturday is massive? Yes. I think next month is, and I think Chris mentioned this on social media. I think this month is huge for Bonner, and I think if they lose Saturday and potentially even lose the one after, I would not be surprised if he's gone. And like I said, I think like everyone, you do get sucked into how he talks. He's a very good talker, and he sold me on the talk. But yeah, the performances on the pitch, it's very much like last year. We pass the ball a tad quicker, but other than that, it is like watching the same as last year. But if I can go back to recruitment, obviously we're a team that want to get out this division. Our owners are saying they want to get out this division. But again, speaking to my dad at the weekend, he was like, if you sign League Two players, you get a League Two team. And that's kind of where we're at yet. We probably don't have the money of some American actors that have own a team that have been in and around our division, who, when they were in the National League, went and signed a League One player. Do we have the finances to take League One players and bring them to League Two? I don't know. But at the moment, if it carries on like this, we're going to be in this division again next year.
I just pick up on that. Sorry, Matt.
No, go on, Chris.
I just want to pick up on that. So, David, like we look at Romeo Hutton, who was, he was banned for Stockport, apparently. We then look at Jack Nolan, who, for me, is League One material. Like, is it a case of we're signing terrible players, or is it a case of we're signing good players that could play League One, but just aren't doing it for us?
It's probably the latter, but we have to remember, like we said at the start, Nolan had a good season last year in a average League Two side. He stood out in an average League Two side. Nevitt is slightly opposite to that he did really well in a team that nearly got to League One. But the majority of our signings are either non-league or League Two players, and we're kind of getting what we bought. Yes, they're underperforming. Could you see any of these players in a League One team? Really, in a good League One side? Probably not.
Okay, guys. Well, okay, guys. Here you go. Let's finish.
Sorry, Matt. Can I just say we're just talking about how much time has Bonner got or not got or whatever. I think one thing you can't lose sight of, that the football club is a business at the end of the day, and if crowds start dropping, which inevitably they will do, if you keep losing games like we are at home, that people will vote with their feet at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. Now, Dave was right. Port Vale is massive, because I think the next game after that is Walsall, which looks like it won't happen because of the internationals. And then I think we're at home to Harrogate, if I'm right. Now, that is the type of game that's going to be Harrogate bring one man and his dog, so they're not going to help with the crowd, are they? If we lose to Port Vale, then you will see a small crowd, I'm sure, against Harrogate. And it's not the situation where Harris and Clemens was different. That was a choice by the board to make a change. We could find ourselves in a situation where there isn't, from a business point of view, there actually isn't a choice. He will have to go, because the numbers will tell you the story. People will vote with their feet.
Well, do you also think? Oh, sorry, Matt. I was going to say, do you also think that if, say Bonner got sacked, do you think they then have to look at the people that are doing the recruiting of the managers? Because obviously the Gallantons aren't football people. They're putting their trust in people. And if they're now on their technically their second manager, but they've obviously sacked Harris. Could there be a mass exodus if Bonner goes? Do you think they could have an early to mid-season clear out?
100% for me. I mean, because there's more issues that are raised there, David. I mean, you've got to question the situation where you've got obviously Hess, Jacket, and Scally kind of all matey. That makes a lot of people uncomfortable. That I don't see that as being healthy in the background for a start. And I said the other day, you know, for me, Brad goes into the office with a blank sheet of paper and starts again and evaluates who is offering what to the football club, because there's some dead wood around, and I think that a clear out is probably a good idea.
I definitely alluded to this last week though with the recruitment stuff, right? And I'm banging that drum, and I'm going to keep banging that drum because I definitely think there is something fundamentally wrong within our club, right? Where it can't be three managers. It can't. It's possible, but it can't, right? I think it is definitely to do with the director of football and the chief scout, right? They need to leave the club. We need to replace them, and there be a different factor between. Matt has also alluded to in the past about, it's a new start for our club. It's a new beginning. It's new. How can it be a new beginning when you still have Hess in the club that goes to games with Mr. Scally? He's clearly best friends with him still, which is fine. Do what you want to do, but don't be around our club when you're doing it.
Guys, I'm going to ask you all a very simple yes or no question before we jump on to our next slide. Mark Bonner, is he going to be our manager come the end of the season? Yes or no, Chris?
At the moment, no.
Stu?
No.
And David?
No.
And I'm the odd one out. Okay. I think if we can turn it around in the next few games, if we can start getting some results put together, start getting some of these injured players that would be necessarily in our first team to put back in, I think he would still be in charge come the end of the season. I'm still not holding out hope that we get promoted, but I am hoping, that we're at least there or thereabouts come the end of the season. I think Chris has just disappeared for a second, so we won't jump onto the new slide just yet.
Yeah, Matt, I've got to pick you up on that because if you remember when you used to do the ME7 Breakfast Club, I remember you telling us that Macaulay Bond was going to score 20 goals in a season. So come on,
Hey, look, I even said Hurtado's going to win the Ballon d'Or, right? So look, and I also say we're going to beat Man United 7-0. Always take what I say with a little pinch of salt. But look, now Chris is back. We're going to jump on to our next slide, our man of the match now, against the sponsor's shout of it being Max Amar, which I think was totally wrong. Everyone, except Chris, because we've only just dragged him out of bed 2 minutes before the show started, picked Ewan Williams. David, why did you go for Ewan?
Yeah, it was an easy choice. I don't know. I'm a Max Amar fan, but I don't know what the sponsors were watching really. Half the time, you just think, they want a photo with their favourite player. But he was everywhere, wasn't he, Ewan Williams? As I said when I finally got on after the issues at the start, he wanted the ball, kept running, kept trying, and he looked like a person that was playing for his position, like he wants to be in the team, and he put the performance in that come Saturday at Port Vale, he'll be in the team. And he's going to make, again, Ethan Coleman, when he's fit, is going to have to fight to get back in the team, and Robbie McKenzie's going to have to fight to get back in the team because it's his shirt for the foreseeable, really, as far as I can see.
Yeah, Stu, I mean, it feels like it's taken forever to get you in the team. Obviously, he had an injury, then he had international duty. Then when he did get in the team against Swansea, he got 2 yellow cards and sent off and banned for however many games. But now that he is in the team, he's starting to make an impression, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Funny, I was really annoyed because I went to Swansea. I was really annoyed with him getting sent off down there. Didn't help. Obviously, Bonner doesn't like cup ties anyway, so I think he was quietly pleased that that we got knocked out. But he was really good on Saturday, and like David was saying, very industrious. You could tell he doesn't like going sideways or backwards, so he might struggle to fit in the way we like to play sometimes. He wanted to get forward. He wanted the ball. He was nice and busy, what you'd expect from a midfielder. And he'll definitely keep the shirt. He'll be first name on the team sheet for Saturday. No doubt about that.
Yeah, Chris, do you think we managed to get quite a good player in then in Ewan Williams?
Yeah, let's be honest. He's a good player. He is a good player, and as you say, he's been in and out of the team. He's not really been given a chance. I don't think really. He scored a really good goal when he was on trial, I believe, against Watford. Was it Watford?
Yeah.
And I'm happy for him to be in a team, and I'm not slighting any other player in this team, but he does actually move the ball forward. He doesn't move it sideways. He doesn't move it backwards. So at times he does if he needs to, but his general game is to move it forward, which can only be a positive for us, really. I just I like him. I think he's a good player. And we lost 2-0, but the fact that the three of you have made him man of the match kind of says it all, really, doesn't it?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, it really does. I think he was by far the best player. And like you said, it's I think they've only picked Amar just so they can get a photo with him. But yeah, look, on to the attendances then for the game. 4,190 home fans there, 213 fans from Blackpool coming all the way down to support their team. 4,403 in the stadium. So, yeah, very average for a first round FA Cup game. Let's go on to a look ahead for the next game, and that is obviously against Port Vale. That makes for some sorry reading underneath the last 5 games for Gillingham. Lost, draw, lost, and under Port Vale, win, and a loss. So, guys, I'm going to start with you, Chris. Are you actually looking forward to the weekend, or are you dreading it?
No, to be fair, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going. I'm looking forward to seeing David. I don't know if Stu's going this weekend, but
I'll be there.
Well, there we go then. So for me, it's not just about the game; it's about seeing people as well. But I've got a feeling and a gut feeling that they're going to think that they're a pushover, and we're actually going to turn them over 2 or 3-0. Personally, call me stupid, but I just think that we're going to turn them over at the weekend. I really do feel that their loss. I think their loss was in the FA Cup, wasn't it? I just feel that we're gonna turn up for some weird reason. I've got a gut feeling. We need to change things. I think that we need to play 2 up top. I think that Josh Andrews needs to. I don't know if you alluded to it, where he was injured or came off. They would have taken him off. I think if we play Josh Andrews and Jacob Wakelin, or Josh Andrews and Marcus Wiley up front, I think that we can win this game. I really do think we can win this game.
Stu, what about you? What are you thinking for the weekend ahead?
I think we should take a leaf out of Blackpool's book, play a 4-4-2, nice and simple. I know you're a big fan of it, Matt. This game is winnable because I don't think this is a strong division, to be honest. There's no real great teams in this division. I'm thinking probably it'll be a draw because the pressure's going to be on, and the players are going to know. The manager knows it. This is a big game for us. You can't be walking out of the ground on the back of another defeat, because it will be a horrible atmosphere at the end of that game if we lose this one. I think we could get a draw. Let's change the format, like 2 up front, and let's keep it nice and simple. And let's just speed it up. Let's get the ball forward quickly. And not all this passing sideways and backwards for the sake of it. Pointless, doesn't achieve anything.
David, what about you? What do you think for the weekend ahead?
Probably echo a little bit of both of what Chris and what Stu said. It'd be very Gills if we do go and win. It'd just sum us up, and then we'd probably lose to Harrogate the week after at home. But then, yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if any results possible Saturday. But I've got a sneaky feeling, a bit like Chris. I've got, and again, nothing to back up why. I've just got a sneaky feeling that we're going to win. Probably won't be by a lot because I do think it's going to be very cagey. So especially if we went 1-0 up, I think it would be probably a sit-back game again. Probably go 1 up, sit back and see what happens. But I think we just want anything really. We just need something. Own goal, anything. Just need to get back on, get 3 points.
I definitely don't think we need to sit back after the Swindon game because even down to 10 men, you know, they will score a goal. Yes, yeah,
unforgivable. That was absolutely unforgivable.
It was. I hated that game. That was it felt like a loss.
Yeah, the one thing they needed to do against Swindon was go for the jugular, and they decided to just sit back and let them come at us. And you know, we should have, I think, come away from that game as 3-0 winners because I think after we got that first goal, we really shot them, and that would have given us the well-needed boost we needed. But unfortunately, look, it wasn't to be. But look, I think we're doing pretty well on timing here, guys. Then before you go, we've got January transfer around, obviously the corner. I know, obviously, we're not a million miles away from it, but give us a couple of areas that you all think we need to definitely improve in, or any play recommendations you have for us. So, Chris, we'll start with you.
I think we need another left back. I think we did a wrong one in missing out on Nesta Guinness Walker or whatever his name is. He was a free agent. I think we could have signed him. Do we need another striker if Andrews is not going to be fit? Do we need another striker if Elliot never isn't going to live up to last season? I don't know. I definitely think we need another centre back just to help out. Especially if we're going to start playing 3 at the back like we seem to do against Swindon. Maybe, yeah, no, I'd say left back and striker.
Okay, perfect. Stu, what about yourself?
Well, the first thing I'll be doing in January is clearing out all the sick notes for a start because, you know, there's no wonder I can't get a doctor's appointment. All our players are clogging up the surgery, aren't they? You know, let's get rid of them. For me, a goalie, I want to see a goal. We haven't got a number 1. We've got 2 number 2s, really, for me. So I'd like to see a goalkeeper, proper, you know, number 1 in. And we often, and this keeps going around about us, we're still good enough to get in the playoffs, you know, this, that, and the other. Now, the reality is the only benchmark for this, for us getting in the playoffs at this level, is 2009. If you remember, we had Simeon Jackson who scored 20 goals that season. There's no one out there at the moment who's got 20 goals in them. So we need a striker that can actually score goals, not one who's injured, not one who's going to pay a bit here, a bit there. Because someone to come in and start firing all cylinders. So striker and a goalkeeper for me.
And David, what about yourself?
I would say a more attacking left back, almost not identical to Hutton, but on the other side, not someone that gets forward, doesn't want to cross the ball, and then we have to come back and start again. Want that. And even though we've got God knows how many of them in the squad, but they're always all unfit, a number 10 that's actually creative. Like we've got all these forwards, and you just, apart bar the Nevitt goal, you never see dual strikers one-on-one. They're never played through. I just want someone with a little bit of creativity.
Well, there you have it. The 3 wise men have spoken, and obviously that must mean that I am the Messiah. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been The View from Medway. He's been Chris. He's been Stu. He's been the Shouting Men's Dave. I have been your host, Matt. Thank you for watching, and always, up the Gills.